Hello, welcome back to Lifestyle Medicine Global. Today we're going to talk about diabetes. This is a very important topic because of how many people are affected by this disease. What is diabetes? Diabetes is a condition where you have elevated blood glucose. Normally, depending on where you are, the doctor will, because this is mostly how you're gonna know you have diabetes, is you go to get your blood work done and the doctor tells you that your sugar is higher than normal. There's also a condition that is in between called pre-diabetes. And it has been shown that it can have complications also, just as diabetes. But today we'll talk about diabetes. So you have elevated blood sugar, and normally what happens when you eat, your blood glucose goes up, and that glucose is supposed to go inside the cells to be able to, because that's what the cells use for functioning. But in diabetes, the sugar does not get inside the cells and it stays high in the blood. The problem is with this condition is the sugar starts to stick on things. It starts to affect blood vessels, starts to affect the organs because the sugar is sticking to them and they're not functioning properly. So what happens when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you have diabetes? What normally happens is, depending on how high the sugar is, you can be started on medication or you can be advised to change your lifestyle, mostly your diet, and to exercise to be able to lower your blood sugars. Diabetes is becoming such a big problem. In fact, in America, it's estimated that in the year 2030, half of adults in America will have diabetes. The problem is, it's not just having high sugars, but it's all these complications that arise from having these high sugars. And the number one cause of adult blindness in America is diabetes, because it starts to affect your eyes, it affects your heart. In fact, we know that heart disease is the leading cause of death in America and even worldwide. And when you have diabetes, it's like you have a heart disease. You have that much risk of getting a heart attack, of getting stroke as well. And so it is very important to get your sugars checked, because knowledge is for sure power. And if I sometimes have people who are so afraid to go see the doctor because they don't want to know what they're suffering from. But that does not help, because you might not know that your sugar is high, but it will start to cause damage. And the sooner you know, the better, so you can start controlling your sugar and avoid getting complications. So, as most of you know, once you have diabetes, most people are on medications to be able to control their sugar. But what we are doing really, when you take these medications, the way that they work is to, they can help your liver stop making glucose, because the liver stores glucose in between meals so it can provide it when you need it in between meals. And some of these medications make the pancreas to produce more insulin, and this is how the medications works to lower your blood sugar. Some of them even make you pee more sugars in your urine so you can get rid of it. But what this is doing is we are addressing just the sugar, but we have not addressed the problem that led into the elevated sugar. And one of the popular things that happens is limiting carbohydrates. And again, what this is doing is we are limiting we are avoiding putting sugar into the body, because the sugar that the body cannot make enough insulin, or the insulin is not working to put that sugar inside the cells. So we are really limiting the amount of sugar that we are eating. And a low carbohydrate diet is very popular in patients who are diabetic. But the problem is, of course, a lot of food has starch. It has carbohydrates. Think of the fruits and the vegetables. Think of your grains and your beans, your lentils, things like that. They're really high in carbohydrates. So what eventually happens is these patients start to eat more meat, eggs and cheese. So it's just more animal products, which does not help. First of all, let's actually look at what causes diabetes. For a long time, even going through medical school, we were told that we didn't really know exactly what causes diabetes, and that we know of risk factors that predispose people to getting diabetes, and those included the race, weight, being obese, and things like that. But now it's becoming clear and clear that diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, and the insulin resistance is caused by fat inside the cell. It's called intramyocellular lipids. So what happens when we eat food that are high in fat? The body, when you eat the fat, it gets stored right away. The process is so efficient that whatever fat you're eating, it actually does not change at all. It just gets stored. And when you have a lot of this fat, it gets stored inside the muscle cells, in your fat cells, and you have all these fat now. And what happens is the fat prevents the insulin from opening the cell so the sugar can get in. So the insulin is like a key that opens the cell so it can receive the sugar and use the sugar to function. But now you have a cell that's full of fat, and the insulin does not work as well. And then what happens is that you have now insulin resistance. This is not the case in type 1 diabetes, where you completely don't have insulin or barely have any insulin to be able to do the job. So in that case, the treatment for type 1 diabetes is insulin. But for type 2 diabetes, it's completely caused by lifestyle, and the fat now that's inside the cells is preventing the insulin from working. So as you can tell, it's pretty simple to fix the problem once you know what's causing the problem. The solution to this issue is not to give the patient medicines to just lower the sugar, and we have not fixed what caused the insulin resistance to begin with. So as I said in my introduction to lifestyle medicine, we are using lifestyle changes to treat the patients. We are not focusing on using medication, because the medication are like a band-aid to just cover up the problem, but the problem is still there. So what has been done, studies have been done. I mentioned about the Adventist study, which studied 60,000 Adventists who on a spectrum from those that eat meat to lacto-ovo vegetarians, all the way to vegans. All they ate, the vegans, all they ate was plants, and it was found that the vegans had the lowest incidence of diabetes. So the doctors started doing research on, put up patients on American Diabetic Association diet, and put the other patient in whole food plant-based diet. And what they found out is that these patients who were on 100% whole food plant-based diet were able to normalize their sugar and be able to get off of their medications in a matter of 2 weeks. Some of them stopped half of their medications. And it was that simple. They fixed the insulin resistance by changing from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet. The problem is the way that we are treating it now, telling patients to limit the carbohydrates and eating more low carbohydrate foods. They're animal-based foods, and animal foods are fatty. By nature, they are full of fat, and they are high in saturated fats. They have cholesterol, and the body does not have use for all this fat that we are eating. And what happens, that fat just gets stored. And if you are eating carbohydrates, or if you are eating proteins, your body will turn the protein into carbohydrates, so it can use it. If you're eating carbohydrates, it will use the carbohydrates, because the carbohydrates are the most efficient and preferable energy source for the body. So what happens to the fat that you eat in this animal food is just gets stored, and you keep increasing and increasing in weight, and that leads to more and more insulin resistance. And I will mention here about the keto diet. So if you're doing a keto diet to lose weight, because of course you have been told, if you are diabetic, you have been told that you need to lose weight to be able to manage your diabetes. So let's say, for example, you go on a keto diet to lose weight, you're losing water and you start to lose muscle. Of course, because you've cut out all carbohydrates, your body is gonna find a way to get energy. So it will use all these fats. But what's happening is now, by consuming all these low carbohydrates, high protein, high fat foods from animals mostly, you are increasing your risk of getting heart disease. And in fact, it might seem like it's helping in the short term, but in the long term, this is a problem, because now you've increased your risk of getting other diseases. So the best way to treat diabetes and even reverse it, so this is the amazing thing about this, you can reverse diabetes. Diabetes is not a long life disease. I remember being in medical school and being in residency, and even being in practice, in practicing medicine, I knew for all this time that you can just manage the patients, and they will always be dealing with their diabetes. But now with the new research coming out, the patient are able to reverse diabetes. That's why I'm really passionate about this, because there is no need for us to continue in this path. There is no need for us to watch ourselves. I mean, like one in two adults is going to be diabetic. And how is that going to change unless we change these animal-based eating? People filling their plates with animal food, which it does not have the nutrients we need to thrive. And we are doing this because of the protein. And we think that we don't even need that much protein. Because what happens when you're eating all these animal food is excessive intake of protein, which gets converted to fat and lead to increased weight. And also, the body has to eliminate excess amino acids through the kidneys, and this leads to overworking the kidneys and worsening kidney disease. And you can imagine, if you're diabetic, you probably have kidney disease already, and now you're worsening the kidney disease by consuming all these proteins. And this can even lead to new kidney disease, because animal protein is acidic as well, and this can contribute to kidney disease. So if you are diabetic, what I would recommend for you is to switch to a whole food plant-based diet. What does this involve? It involves 4 food groups. Your whole grains, for example, oats. So you are going to just do plain oats, not those you buy in packets with lots of sugars, but take plain oats and cook them add a sprinkle of nuts and some raisins or some fresh fruits, and that's your breakfast. And then other grains like brown rice, brown bread, whole wheat spaghetti and pasta, quinoa, the really good one, millet, buckwheat, barley, all these grains, they're really nutritious, and they have other nutrients that help us. Of course, they're high in fiber. It's going to help with keeping your sugars steady. They get digested slowly and they do not spike the sugars. So that's your whole grains group. The second group of food is your legumes. These include beans, or the different kinds of beans, lentils, peas, and then also the nuts and seeds. So the nuts, we know the different kinds of nuts depending on where you are, what's available to you. And then there's the seeds, like chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. But I wanted to say something about the nuts, because the nuts are pretty high in calorie. When you compare a carbohydrate and a protein, the oils are twice as much caloric density. So you want to be, if you have diabetes, you want to lose weight, you want to be really easy on the nuts, and don't use more than a handful a few times a week. And then you can use your seeds, grind them up and put them in smoothies. You can use seeds and put them in your salads, or when you bake some of your foods. The third group of food is the vegetables. You want to eat a variety of vegetables. The dark green leafy vegetables, the orange, the yellow, the red, the white, all these vegetables with different colors have different nutrients, and you want to eat a variety of vegetables. And you want to aim for 3 to 5 servings of vegetables a day. And a serving is half a cup of cooked vegetables and 1 cup of raw vegetables. So you want to mix the raw and the cooked vegetables. And of course, don't shy away from your starchy vegetables, your carrots, your sweet potatoes. They're really good for you. There's nothing wrong with starchy food. The problem is when we eat processed starch, then that becomes a problem. When we eat simple sugars, that's a problem. But if you eat the sugar that is in the natural plant foods, there is no problem, because it comes with fiber that controls how it's digested and absorbed. It comes with other nutrients that are very helpful to our bodies. And then the last group of food is your fruits, and you can eat a variety of fruits as well. Aim for at least 2 to 4 fruits a day. And a serving of fruit is a medium-sized apple or medium-sized orange, and 1 cup of like strawberries or grapes. So aim for 2 to 4 a day. And then I will not forget to mention that you need vitamin B12 when you are eating only plants. And I say vitamin B12 is not, we don't make it. Of course, it's a very essential for healthy blood, for healthy nerves. So you need it. We don't make it. The animals we eat don't make it. It's made by a bacteria in the soil. And what we think used to happen before is that when our ancestors ate, they went and plucked carrots from the ground, they didn't really wash them as much, or they drank water from springs, they were able to get the vitamin B12 that way, because you need micronutrients. You don't need a lot. In fact, when I get my supplement, I don't even take it every day, because it's like 100,000% of my daily, requirements. So and it's water soluble, so it's not like you will have problems if you took too much. But I take it every 2 to 3 days. And if you are using, let's say nutritional yeast, or you're using plant-based milk, those also get fortified with vitamin B12. But I just don't use milk every day, so I just use the supplement. So these are the 4 food groups you want to focus on getting your food. And then also be careful not to use too much oil, because as I said, excess fat inside the body is a problem, and that fat can also be coming from olive oil of your vegetable oils and other oils, seed oil, nut oils, and all these oils. So you don't want to overdo the oils, and that's why you want to be careful with processed foods because of all these added oils. When you have diabetes and you want to reverse your diabetes, you want to minimize the amount of oil that you're using. And I understand that this can be a bit challenging, but it's not impossible. You can start with the foods that you already eat that are plant-based and start replacing those foods. Start replacing your animal foods with plant foods. Like go for beans, go for lentils, for your protein. And then, the legumes, the lentils, beans have complex carbohydrates as well. So if you make like a soup, a lentil soup with vegetables, you got your protein, you got your complex carbohydrates as well. We really don't need as much food as we think we do. And when you eat, don't eat until you feel so full. Eat until you feel satisfied and then stop. And then in between, drink water. Avoid snacking because all this snacking too contributes to all these excess calories. And also you can imagine your body needs time between one meal to the other. It needs time to digest the food. It needs time to rest. And the body functions best when it's in fasting state. So when we keep putting food in our body, it doesn't really work well in terms of rebuilding itself. So give your body time. I know this topic is broad, so I'm starting this as a general information as to how to manage the diabetes. But diabetes is reversible, it's manageable. And if we continue the path of medication, what's going to happen is more medications, complications, and patients have a hard time to keep up with the medication. So get really motivated to get rid of this disease, and you can do it. And of course, by observing this whole food plant-based diet, low fat, in fact I call it a low fat whole food plant-based diet. By that I mean limiting the amount of oils, refined oils, and also you want to limit things like avocado. Those are also natural fats as well, to to maximize your weight loss. And what's going to happen when you eat like this, you are going to lose weight. You are not even going to work hard at losing the weight or be thinking about it, because it's going to automatically happen. What happens when you eat plant foods? Because plant foods, they're full of fiber. When you eat it, it fills up your stomach, and when your stomach stretches, it sends signals of fullness. So you will not eat a lot compared to, let's say, if you are eating a lot of processed foods, animal food, all these fatty foods. And it takes time to digest the food because of the fiber. It takes time to get into your blood, and this is really going to help. And the fiber helps a lot in your gut microbiome, creating all these antioxidants, basically just affecting a lot of functions in the body. And then something else that happens when you eat just the plant foods is you get increased metabolism. The metabolism after eating increases up to 5 hours. And this is how it can really help with the weight loss. So the solution is simple. It might look too simple, too good to be true, but it is true. And the problem is, of course, because we're so used to our diet, we're so used to how foods taste. People love the taste of meat, eggs, and cheese, other dairy products like yogurt and ice creams and all these foods. But you can acquire the taste, and in fact, you will realize how flavorful plant foods are. You just need to cook them and to spice them right, to find the right seasoning to use. And see how colorful these plant foods are. They will bring life to your body. They will regenerate your body. They will help prevent disease. Plant foods, we have found more than 100,000 phytonutrients in plant foods. Some we even, you know, the scientists are still studying about. Plant foods are indeed amazing, and they are indeed medicine. Let food be thy medicine. And there is no way we can really continue in this path with more medications and more medications. In America, 80% of our healthcare spending is going to chronic diseases. That cannot be right. Our genes have not changed, but our diet definitely has changed to be more animal-based, more processed foods. In fact, our youth, it has been estimated that 60% of their calories is coming from ultra-processed food. This food does not have nutrients. It's full of empty calories and minimal nutrients. And this is very, very bad, because now we're lacking all these nutrients that will help them thrive. They're just growing up sick already. So we can change this by embracing a whole food plant-based diet. This is what our body was meant to consume. This is what helps us stay healthy, prevent premature aging, prevent all these diseases, keep our weight down, because you will realize that obesity is the mother of all problems. All this accumulation of this extra fat that's coming from animal fat. It's coming from pork and beef and chicken and fish and dairy products. So today we'll stop here. We'll probably go into more details, into other details next time. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.